Good day to you. Another day, another video, another cup of green tea, as discussed in the last segment. So today I'll be talking about my experience with exposure therapy and how I think it benefits people and why. So exposure therapy, for me, I use to combat agoraphobia, which means I expose myself to something which would normally make me feel very uncomfortable, such as, in my case, going on a long journey. For someone else, say they had a fear of water, exposure therapy would be a case of perhaps even just going to the swimming pool and standing outside it, becoming comfortable with being in that area and realizing there's nothing to be afraid of. Before long they walk into the swimming pool. They might have to do that 10, 20, 30, 100 times. And then they move on to putting a toe in the swimming pool. And I think you get the idea. Until eventually they've got to the point where they can swim. So for me, my version of swimming would be eventually being able to get on a flight or go abroad, which I haven't been able to do in 9 years. So that's what exposure therapy means, at least to me, and I think as far as I've been told by professionals in the field of mental health, that's what exposure therapy is. I've been doing it now for around less than a year properly, and really got into it around 2 months ago, and I'll tell you why. Around 2 months ago, I was invited to a wedding, and the wedding is next month. The wedding is for a friend of my partner's, and I was kindly invited. They want me there for the day ceremony and the night. Lovely people. And it was with great regret that I said no, and I felt incredibly guilty and everything that comes with that. And they asked me again, they said, is there any way you could come? We'd love to have you there. I was very flattered, it was very nice, and I just said, do you know what, let's do it. Let's try it. Let's set that as the goal. So they asked me again 2 months ago, is there any way you can be there? And I said, yeah. I'm just going to commit to it. I'm going to say yes. And that, for me, I knew could either serve as motivation or it could serve as pressure. Negative pressure. And I decided that I was going to make it serve as my motivation. And it's been the perfect motivation for my exposure therapy. So for me, my version of swimming for now is getting to the wedding. That's my short-term goal. And it's so important to write down your goals, in my opinion. It's helped me massively. By writing it down, I get to know what I'm going for. And it keeps the idea fresh in my mind at all times. I never lose sight of what the goal is. I never lose sight of why I'm going for this. So, over the past couple of months, I've been going on journeys to the extent of maybe half an hour away, myself and my partner. And then, on top of that, I've been driving by myself, 10 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, going to the shop by myself. And again, it was much like I told you the story about the swimming pool. I would drive to the shops and just sit in the car park. I wouldn't get out of the car. But after doing that a few times, I stepped out of the car and walked into the shop. Bought one thing, got out there as quick as I could. Did that a few times until eventually, before I knew it, I was going shopping. I wasn't even thinking about it really. I knew I was doing it, I knew it was slightly uncomfortable, but I felt less uncomfortable doing a full shop in the shop for 45 minutes than I did sitting in the car park the first time I went, and that for me is the purpose of exposure therapy. So with that in mind, with all things we've been doing, it built up to this weekend when we went to the wedding venue. we actually managed to get to the wedding venue, which is 2 hours away. Now, the trick with exposure therapy is to have all your ducks in a row before you go. Make sure you have your notebook with you. Make sure you have some water. And make sure you have anything you need as a crutch just the first time. Because for me, it's those small increments. I know that these are crutches, but that crutch won't always be there. And I know that for a fact. I have faith in that. Because there are crutches that I've used to go to the shop before, which I don't need anymore. I don't need a bottle of water to go to the shop with now. I used to. Just those crutches that at first help you. Why not? They're there. Use them. They're not always going to be there. You've got your entire lifetime to get better and to enjoy your life. And for me, I get enjoyment out of this. If I spent the rest of my life just working on exposure, I'd be happy with that. It's very rewarding. So this weekend, we managed to get to the wedding venue, and that was the ultimate goal from exposure therapy. It's those small increments. It's those small victories over time building up to the conclusion, the peak. And that for me, this weekend, was the peak. In fact, we even got to the wedding venue, which is 20 minutes from the Scottish border, and I said, you know what, let's do it. Let's go to Scotland. Going to Scotland is something I didn't even think I could ever do at one point in my life. Going out of the town is something I didn't ever think I could do at one point. So, exposure therapy really does help. It's the best thing I've done in terms of seeing results. I take medication, citalopram. I don't drink. I don't do any recreational drugs. The only caffeine I drink is through green tea. Again, watch the last video. And I would say that the best results I've ever seen are through exposure therapy. So, in conclusion, it's great results. Get yourself a notebook, write down your goals, and just take it really slow. Don't rush it, because you've got all the time in the world. Exposure therapy really does work. Thanks very much.